A multinational company has multiple business units, with each unit having its own AWS account. The development team at the company would like to debug and trace data across accounts and visualize it in a centralized account. As a developer associate, which of the following solutions would you suggest for the given use case? A, VPC flow logs, B, X-ray, C, CloudTrail, D, CloudWatch events. B, X-ray. AWS X-ray is a distributed tracing service provided by Amazon Web Services that helps developers analyze and debug applications running on AWS infrastructure. It enables you to understand how your applications are performing by providing insights into the request flow and identifying performance bottlenecks. You have created a Java application that uses RDS for its main data storage and Elasticache for user session storage. Okay. The application needs to be deployed using Elastic Beanstalk, and every new deployment should allow the application servers to reuse the RDS database. On the other hand, user session data stored in Elasticache can be recreated for every deployment. Which of the following configurations will allow you to achieve this? Select two. A, Elasticache bundled with the application source code. B, RDS database defined in EB extensions. C, Elasticache DB defined externally and referenced through env variables. D, RDS DB defined externally and referenced through env variables. E, Elasticache defined in EB extensions. All right, so it's C and D. C, Elasticache DB defined externally and referenced through env variables, and D, RDS DB defined externally and referenced through environment variables. Okay. You are storing bids information on your betting application and you would like to automatically expire DynamoDB table data after 1 week. What should you use? Lambda function, DAX, TTL, DynamoDB streams. Oh, time to live. For DynamoDB allows you to find when items in a table expire so that they can be automatically deleted from the database. Okay. Ooh, okay. A company is creating a gaming application that will be deployed on mobile devices. The application will send data to a Lambda function-based RESTful API. The application will assign each API request a unique identifier. The volume of API requests from the application can randomly vary at any given time of day. During request throttling, the application might need to retry requests. The API must be able to address duplicate requests without inconsistencies or data loss. Which of the following would you recommend to handle these requirements? A, persist a unique identifier for each request in a DynamoDB table. Change the Lambda function to send a client error response when the function receives a duplicate request. B, persist a unique identifier for each request in a RDS MySQL table. Change the Lambda function to check the table for the identifier before processing the request. C, persist a unique identifier for each request in a DynamoDB table. Change the Lambda to check the table for the identifier before processing the request. And A, persist a unique identifier for each request and an Elasticache for memcached cache. Change the Lambda function to check the cache for blah, blah. Don't know. C, persist a unique identifier identifier for each request in the DynamoDB table. Change the lambda to check the table for the identifier before processing the request. Okay. All right, memcached is designed for simplicity and it does not offer any snapshot or replicate. This can lead to data loss, therefore this option is not right for the given use case. Okay, well, I think I copied and pasted the wrong thing. All right, well, let's go. A company wants to improve the performance of its popular API service that offers unauthenticated read access to daily updated statistical information via Amazon API Gateway and AWS Lambda. What measures can the company take? A, enable API caching and API Gateway. B, set up usage plans and API keys in API Gateway. C, configure API Gateway to use Elasticache for memcached. D, configure API Gateway to use Gateway VPC input. Okay, A, enable API caching in API Gateway. API Gateway provides a few strategies for optimizing your API to improve responsiveness, like response caching and payload compression. Okay. You can enable API caching in API Gateway to cache your endpoints responses. With caching, you can reduce the number of calls made to your endpoint and also improve the latency of requests to your API. Oh, Jesus. All right, this is the last one. A gaming company wants to store information about all the games that the company has released. Each game has a name, version number, and category, such as sports, puzzle, strategy. The game information also can include additional properties about the supported platforms and technical specifications. This additional information is inconsistent across games. You have been hired as a certified developer associate to build a solution that addresses the following use cases. For a given name and version number, get all details about the game that has that name and version number. For a given name, get all details about all games that have that name. For a given category, get all details about all games in that category. What will you recommend as the most efficient solution? A, set up an Amazon DynamoDB table with a primary key that consists of the category as the partition key and the version number as the sort key. Create a global secondary index that has the name as the partition key. B, set up an Amazon RDS MySQL instance having a games table that contains columns for name, version, number, and category. Configure the name column as the primary key. Okay. C, set up an Amazon DynamoDB table with a primary key that consists of the name as the partition key and the version number as a sort key. Create a global secondary index that has a category as the partition key and the name as the sort key. Can I move this? I guess I can't. Nope. All right, well, let's go. C, set up an Amazon DynamoDB table with a primary key that consists of the name as the partition key and the version number as the sort key. Create a global secondary index that has the category as the partition key and the name as the sort key. All right. Stop recording.